Hey guys, welcome to Hey Guys, an Internet Obsessed podcast. I am your host, Amanda Haska, and today I am joined by Jimmy Tatro.
Hey guys.
Said it right. Yes. Hey guys.
Hey guys.
He thought it was pretty clever.
I do.
Thank you.
I like that.
Coming from someone as comedically inclined as yourself, I appreciate that you understand it.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I was telling you earlier I'm on a bit of a Korean barbecue hangover.
You were saying that. Is it like meat sweats, that kind of thing?
That sounds like a very gross. I don't want to say meat sweats. I don't know if I like that term. No, I went to like a food coma last night, and then I just woke up like.
Went super hard.
Yeah, just like super on like a weird Korean barbecue. I feel like it's like seeping out of my pores.
I can't smell it off of you or anything, that's good.
Because you can smell. I remember I got home one time from Korean barbecue, and my roommate was across the room, and he was like,
"You reek."
You just get back from Korean barbecue? I was like, "Oh man, yeah. Is it that bad? The whole room just."
I worked at like a fast food Mexican place once, and you come home smelling just like Mexican food, and it's not fun. But anyway, so you are part of a show on Netflix that just launched. It's called American Vandal. I saw the trailer for this like a few weeks ago, like before it was released, and I can't tell you, like when I looked at the trailer on Facebook, I think there were about 10 people that I knew who were like tagging other people and like, oh my God, this is so funny, oh my God, you have to watch this. So if people haven't heard of American Vandal, they don't know what it is, break it down just a little bit for us.
I think the best way to explain American Vandal is it's much easier to explain it if you've seen Making a Murderer or you've listened to Serial.
If you're
or
into
any
true
of these
crime.
True crime docu-series. But I think the best way to explain it is there was it's technically a mockumentary, even though it feels more like a documentary, about a high school student who was accused of spray painting 27 penises on cars in a faculty parking lot, and he was expelled for that. But then there's a sophomore, aspiring documentarian who believes he may be innocent. He may have been framed. So he sets out to make a very serious 8-part documentary series to get to the bottom of who really drew the dicks.
I watched the whole 8 episodes. I thought it was so fascinating. It really it reminded me of sort of like Lonely Island. Like I feel like this is very something that they would do where it's the concept of it seems kind of, you know,
ridiculous?
Like ridiculous and stupid, where it's like 27 dicks on cars. It's true crime. Okay. But it's done in such a smart way and such a thoughtful way that sometimes I feel like even like the stupidest comedy is actually the smartest, because it's like, it's just so funny. And there are just so many little things. Like I can't, like, there's just a lot. Are you a true crime fan? Like, was that something
I am, yeah. I enjoy the true crimes. I haven't seen as many as I should have seen.
Yeah. Did you listen to Serial? Like, what ones have you been into, or what ones have
I'm
you?
almost done with Serial. I'm just bad at
years
knocking
late.
entire series out. I watched the first couple episodes of Making a Murderer, and I liked it, but I just didn't finish it.
Right.
And no one ever believes me when I'm like, yeah, I started watching it, I just couldn't finish it. They're like, you didn't like it? I'm like, no, I just suck at watching shows.
No.
But yeah, I really liked Making a Murderer. I just started watching the confession tapes on Netflix, which is also really cool, which is about like people confessing to crimes they didn't commit.
Oh, wow. I heard there's a really good one called like The Staircase or something, and it's about this man or woman, someone got like pushed down a staircase and they don't know, and it was killed.
They don't know who pushed.
And they don't know who did it, and that one's supposed to be really good. I haven't gotten into that one, but that's another one that's supposed to be good.
I really want to watch The Jinx. That's the one that
oh my gosh, that one's so good.
Yeah, that I've heard crazy things. Yeah. I think it's already been spoiled for me, but I still want to check it out.
Sometimes I think I don't mind spoilers so much, because sometimes it's still fun to see how you get from point A to point B. Like, you know, just because, you know, like the journey there is almost as rewarding as, you know, when you find out whatever it is. But
I think Serial is the one that I saw the most of American Vandal in.
Yeah.
Like the director,
totally.
Tony, was like, have you listened to Serial? I was like, nah, not really. So I started listening to it on the way to set.
Yeah.
And
it's like, this just doesn't add up. Like, that's just very,
just
like,
the way her voice sounded, I was like, oh, wow, this is so Tyler. And it's funny because I remember I was reading lines with my roommate before my audition, and or my callback, and our buddy walked in from the other room and he's like, "Are you guys? Is this like a cereal thing? Like what is this?" And he just like heard the lines we were going over, and he already was like, "It sounds like cereal."
Yeah. So it's just so funny. Yeah, just all the little things. I read. I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I was looking at the IMDb for this, and it said that you pitched this idea to Jonah Hill on the set of 22 Jump Street.
That's false.
Okay, I was like, that movie was a while ago. I was like, I don't think this is true.
Back in 2013.
Yeah, I was like,
when I told Jonah about this idea for the first time.
Someone needs to fix IMDb.
And he said no. Well, look at me now.
Well, no, the IMDb said Jonah Hill. I'm gonna read it to you because I.
I
sort
think
of thought it was
talking
true.
About Jonah Hill because of the whole super bad dick drawing thing. Oh, so maybe that was that. But the idea was Tony Ascenda and Dan Peralt's idea. I'm not.
How did you kind of
stealing credit?
But this is what it says. Because this I believed this for like a hot second. I wonder if it got taken down because it's Jamie Tatro, who plays the lead character Dillon, pitched this storyline to Jonah Hill on the set of 22 Jump Street, which Jonah Hill's response was complete laughter and said this will make him a star for years to come.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it's totally false, but that's pretty funny.
We can pretend like it's true.
Yeah.
So how did you get involved? Since this wasn't your idea, obviously, and you didn't pitch it to Jonah Hill,
right.
How did you get involved?
Well, I got this super suspicious looking email that said Untitled High School Project, and everything was super secretive. And when they sent me the script, it was a password to unlock the script, and then it was like you can only view it for 24 hours.
Yeah.
And if you try to screenshot it or print it, the file
You'll
will
be arrested.
terminate, it said. Those are the words. The file will terminate. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
I thought it was like
a superhero movie or something.
Yeah, like something crazy.
Yeah.
And I was actually on set of a movie in Vancouver at the time, and I didn't have anyone to do the self-tape with, so I did it by myself, and I just kind of read the lines with no one, and then I did a voiceover after to just make it not sound
Well, it's a good thing you
weird.
know video editing and all that kind of stuff. Did you have to edit it or?
Well, I did. I said the lines, and then I would leave a pause.
Oh.
And then I would react to it. And then I would say the next time, and then I'd respond.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, I just did a voiceover.
Okay.
So I would watch it, and I'd say the person's line. Sometimes I didn't have enough time, so I'd have to say it really fast. But yeah, I submitted that, and then.
Do you remember what was your audition monologue?
It was a scene that I think ended up not being in the final draft of the script.
Do you remember what it was about?
It was something about. It was a scene where I was being interviewed, but my buddies were all around me.
Okay.
And I was introducing my girlfriend to the documentarian.
Okay.
That scene's not in there now that I think about it, but it was me being like, "Hey, Mac, this is Peter. Peter, this is Mackenzie." And she's like, "Oh, is this the guy whose ass you wanted to kick?" And I'm like, yeah, this is him.
That's funny. So you said you listened to Serial to prepare. Was there anything else that you kind of delved into to sort of get in the mindset of this true crime lifestyle?
I mean, I think I only really listened to the first 2 episodes of Serial before, or during the shooting, and I had seen the first episode of Making a Murderer.
So you're I'm good.
Yeah, and I think that was all I really needed to
just to
It just, I got it after that. I was like, okay, yeah,
dip
this all
your
makes
toe
sense.
into a little bit.
And I think for me, it was a lot more, I forgot the guy's name in Making a Murderer, but I think...
I didn't watch Making a Murderer, if I'm going to be completely honest too.
I think that guy was a lot more of who I should have been looking at than the Serial.
Oh, okay.
For the documentarian, I think he should have looked at Serial, and he did.
Yeah.
And then I think he stopped halfway because he wanted to make Peter his own character. But yeah.
And I'm gonna throw up a little bit of a spoiler. We're probably gonna talk about, because I watched the whole thing and I need to talk about it, because so far I have a couple coworkers who have started it, but no one has finished it, and I'm the only one who has finished it. So I'm kind of I have no one to talk to.
Yeah, well, you can just throw a spoiler alert.
Spoiler, if you haven't.
On the screen right now.
I feel really bad for your publicist. Your publicist hasn't finished it yet, so
you
I'm
can just cover
so sorry. She's in the room. I apologize profusely. Were there any other? Did you guys fit? Because I know sometimes shows will film multiple endings, so people don't really know.
Oh, right.
Not to throw people off. Did you guys do that at all, or was it pretty?
No. It was. I mean, they had it all very meticulously planned out, as you could see if you've seen the whole show. Like every detail, and there were certain details that I didn't even realize were such big details until I actually watched the full thing. And there was so many little things that I noticed afterwards, and I was like, oh wow, like that was a really big deal. Because like a lot of the times on set, it would just be, there was so much improv. So the director would, we'd kind of go over what the storyline was, and he'd say, so this is where you're at this point. This is like, what has happened, what hasn't happened. This is what you know so far. This is what Tyler knows. And a lot of the times we would just do interviews, and it would be a complete improv interview where Tyler would just be asking me questions, and I would just have to like know the world and my story and answer it based on that.
I was gonna say, like, was there improv? So it sounds like there was a lot of it.
There was a lot of improv. We did improv takes first, actually, which I've never done before. But the reason they wanted to do that was to make it. What they said was like, if you don't know what's coming, the question that's coming, it's a lot more of a natural response
and like authentic
to think about the answer and like actually come up with something to say, and that's what they wanted it to feel like. And I think that actually came across. Like he would do weird things where we were doing an interview one time, and all of a sudden we just hear two people arguing in the kitchen, and we're both like, we're rolling right now. Like who is just arguing in the kitchen? And we like kind of stopped and like looked in there like who. And it was the woman who plays my mom and the guy who plays my stepdad. And we were just so confused, and we're like looking around.
Is this real?
And then they're like, cut. That was perfect. That was exactly the reaction we wanted. And he just did it because he wanted like a reaction of us being like confused, and he tricked us, and it worked out well.
And so it takes place in Oceanside. Where did you guys film it?
We filmed it in, I don't know if I should say, but we filmed it in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay. And so how long did it take you guys to film? Was it a long process?
It was like a month and a half.
Oh, okay. That's not that bad. So when you found out, so it's weird because I feel like it's left sort of open-ended. Like they kind of give you all the facts, and they're like, this is basic, they leave it open-ended. They give you all the information. They kind of tell you can come up to your own conclusion as to whether or not this person actually did it. What are your thoughts? What do you think?
I mean, I think maybe it's just because I'm too close to the project, but I think it's kind of obvious who did it at the end.
Right.
I know what.
Well, because the thing they say is like, through the documentary, they learn how accusations can kind of, hurt people's feelings or whatever. And so, but I like towards like the end, the last couple episodes, I was like literally like on the edge of my seat, like riveted. I'm like, who did it? I don't know, but
you're like, what? This is not what I was expecting.
I agree. So I think it is pretty obvious who did it, but I do like that they kind of left it like to your own interpretation, sort of.
Yeah, I think it's good that they did that, just because if it was like a hard answer, then there would be no discussions about who did it. And I think that if you really like watch it really closely, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, I don't want to say it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
Again, I think
it wasn't obvious. There would be little things that would happen, and I'd be like, "Oh, this is what's gonna happen." And I was like, "No, just kidding. Okay, no, this is what's gonna happen. Nope, that's not gonna happen." Like, so it's just all over the place in like a good way.
Yeah.
It definitely keeps you on your toes and keeps you guessing.
It was funny because I watched it for the first time. I didn't watch it like before it came out. I just wanted to be surprised, which I realized then just meant I was just seeing it at the same time as everyone else.
Yeah.
So I was watching it for the first time, like the final product, with my friends, and I obviously knew what was going to happen. I didn't know how it was going to play out on screen, which I was actually very pleased. I was watching. I was like, this is so good because I hadn't seen anything since like January or February. But it was just really funny to hear all my friends' theories about, like one episode happens and then they're like, oh, it was this girl or it was him, and they were just so set on these things.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, I would just kind of like go back and forth with them, like, well, tell me why you think. Yeah. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, this goes back to what we were saying about how sometimes, even though if you know the ending, that doesn't necessarily mean you're not going to enjoy the journey of getting there.
Right.
And that sounds like kind of like how you were, where you knew the ending, so to speak, but you didn't know how they got to that point.
Yeah.
So, it's funny, the open-endedness of the ending made me laugh because there's a joke about Inception in the show where you're
Right.
like, I didn't get Inception or whatever, because that's kind of how I feel like the ending of Inception with like the little spinning thing, and it like sort of tips over, and you're like, but like, so what? Like, what really happened? So that made me laugh. And I feel like speaking of kind of like meta-ness, so within the show, the American Vandal documentary that Peter is making goes viral within the school, goes viral online, like it kind of ends up everywhere. And he gets into a little bit of trouble himself, which is very meta, because I feel like a lot of these true crime things blow up and people, you know, so I just thought that was a very clever.
I think what they did was cool because I mean the way they did that was very realistic, but also there's that point when he's reflecting on, you know, he's like, and why did I really dive in on whether or not she gave him the hand job? He's talking about like how many people got embarrassed and stuff. And it's like the documentary is called American Vandal, and then there's like points where you see people watching American Vandal in American Vandal.
Exactly.
And it's so meta, but it's so realistic. And the way that they, you know, portrayed social media in high school, that was one of the main things I took away from the script when I first read it. I was just like, this is so accurate, and it didn't seem cheesy, and it didn't seem like, you know, so many people when they're trying to
portray high school
show high school social media, there's just such a cheesy route that you can go down, and they just kept it so authentic, and I think it was very impressive the way they kept everything so real.
Yeah, there's I was reading a review from thecut.com, and they were basically kind of saying how like you could tell that it was someone who like, because a lot of times with high schoolers and people trying to portray high schoolers on TV, it's like an older person's idea of what they think high school looks like, and so many things have changed, especially, I mean, it's been a minute since I've been in high school, and we definitely didn't have social media and, you know, phones everywhere and be able to like capture everything. So I thought it was very accurate of like every party that they would go to, everyone Snapchatting everything.
And the way that it was just the attention to detail, like even the captions on the Snapchats. Like there was like, you know, they show, it says like Dylan all about school now. And it was just like the way that they like wrote those captions was so high school and like so 2017.
And I loved that, like, so the nerdy kid, Ming, or I can't remember. The
Ming
nerdy kid.
Or Alex Trimboli?
Ming.
Ming, yeah.
I love that, like, he was like this nerdy kid, and he was like at the party with like all the other cool kids, and it wasn't like, you know, they weren't like making fun of him, because I feel like there's this huge stigma of obviously like high school TV shows and movies where they're always bullying the nerdy kid, but they were like partying with him alongside, and it was just, I kind of like the inclusiveness. I was like, that would have been nice to like go to a high school like that where everybody just seemed to be at this party, and it wasn't like except for people did hate Alex Trumbull.
That was because I mean that, and then I also felt like was realistic, because when there's a kid that's, you know, like Ming, who's just an obviously innocent kid, no one's really gonna like be a dick to that kid. It's the Alex Trimbolis that everyone's like, you know, slow your roll.
Where you're lying about hand jobs and drinking 11 beers and all that stuff.
And what were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I think you know, guys like Ming really helped bring the authenticity to the project, just because, like, you know, that's not a guy that you see in like, you know, like a CW version of like a high school show. It's just, he looks like a very real high school kid who like you just yanked out of this school and threw into a documentary.
And so I loved the Wayback Boys, the group of you guys had your own YouTube channel, and I just loved like even the subtle little lines of like, when American Vandal went viral within the show, they're like, we have like 700 subscribers now. They're like, heck yeah. So that was fun to kind of see that. Did you bring any of your like YouTube mentality of kind of having that kind of YouTube channel into that, or did it just kind of work itself out?
Well, no, I mean, it was funny because it was, you know, I had like a prank channel in this show, which I thought was really, really funny, just because it was such a bad prank channel.
Like they would have a thing called like baby farting, and they would just go up to babies and fart in their face, like that. You know, really revolutionary stuff.
And it was, you know, we had a lot of fun with that stuff. It was just like, I don't know. It was just a weird, and it caused that I think caused some confusion for people that know. Like my uncle told me that one of his friends was like, "Hey, I saw your nephew's documentary. I didn't know his name was Dylan." And I didn't know he was, just out of high school.
It's like, I could have sworn.
I'm like, how did you?
Yeah.
Like, you must have heard just like, through the grapevine.
Yeah.
Uncle Jim's nephew is.
Right.
Or Jim's nephew. He's Uncle Jim to everyone. But Jim's nephew has a YouTube channel, and then he sees this, and he's like, "Huh." Because
it feels so realistic. Like, I feel like if you had no idea, like if you watched this and weren't really internet savvy or didn't really know about like the YouTube world, you would like maybe think it was real. Because I know when I watched the Netflix trailer, I was like, I mean, I recognize that guy. Like, I know he's from YouTube, but like, what? I was like, is this real? I didn't know, so.
That was like one of the things I think that, actually may have worked against me during the casting process was because they wanted it to feel very real, and they wanted people that you maybe hadn't seen before.
Right.
I think that kind of went out of the window once some of the people got involved because, there was other familiar faces in there that, are pretty well known from like Disney shows or whatever.
Like Caitlin Worthy, he was like one of our first guests on this show.
Oh really? And he was so good.
Yeah, he was so good.
He like the one thing I wish was that I had more scenes with Alex Trimboli, because I just would see him get into character and he would just start doing this thing with his mouth where he's just like.
Yeah. Because I think we all sort of knew someone similar to him in high school where he was just sort of like there and just like wanted so desperately to be cool, and just he was pretty spot on.
He was great because he's just like, and then you see him in person and you're like, I remember I saw him on set and I was like, who's this Hollywood looking guy? And then they're like, that's Alex Trimboli. I'm like, that's not Alex. I read Alex Trimboli as being like nerdy. And then they threw his braces on and like made him kind of greasy and like gave him that haircut swoosh, and I was like, that's Alex Trimboli for sure.
Yeah. If there was another character that you could have like tackled within the show, like is there one? Like, do you see yourself like being able to kind of take on someone else's role, or like do you just kind of see yourself as Dylan and like that's that?
In this show? Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Who do you think had like a fun time with their character?
I mean, I think, I don't know. I don't think I could have.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I could have maybe played someone else, I just think, I don't think it really would have worked if I was one of the documentarians. I don't think you would have bought that.
Yeah.
I don't think my voice is right for, the narrator of the whole thing. Like Tyler's voice was so perfect as the narrator,
good.
and I was just like, when I was listening to it, I was like, oh man, you sound great, man.
Yeah. He should go into like actual like narrating.
Yeah.
Like Dateline, if Dateline ever needs a new narrator, I feel like
that'd be a solid move.
Yeah. So how much, like obviously Dylan had the YouTube channel and like the prank channel, that kind of stuff. So how much of yourself did you kind of see in him, would you say?
I think.
Like how were you in high school? Like would you have drawn 27 dicks on cars in high school?
I would not have drawn 27 dicks in high school. But a lot of Dylan's character did resonate with me just because I got into a lot of trouble in high school for stupid things. I was involved with the TV. Yeah. The TV show.
Oh, really?
I had a lot of problems with the lady who ran the TV show. I was more like just trying to make it funny and just trying to make like a Saturday Night Live type weekend update kind of show. And she wanted to do like a serious news show, so we always just kind of battled. But there was so much of me that I was able to bring to Dylan just because, for example, the director asked me like, hey, do you have any videos of yourself as a kid, like maybe skating?
Yeah.
And I was like, Tony, that's all I did when I was a kid.
I was literally just gonna say, there's like all this younger footage of you, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's actually him, and it really just sort of fit so well.
And he was asking about it, and I was like telling him, I was like, I used to make these really stupid skate videos where we were inspired by like, Jackass or whatever was before Jackass. It wasn't, I don't even know if that was out yet when we were doing these things, but it was just like us being these stupid, we were 10, like shooting our version of like, badass skate videos, and looking at it now, it's kind of embarrassing. But like things like that were just really, really easy to bring to the Dillon character. And then, of course, you just have to dumb the whole thing down like a lot. Yeah, that's like the one thing my mom says. She's like, he's not stupid. He's not that stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, Mom, you don't need to vouch for me. It's fine.
I loved the how he was like a driver for Postmates, and he'd be like, I'm losing money on this job because I go run errands, and it's like, I want a smoothie too. It's like, I'm getting a smoothie for this person.
And that was like one of those things where, they would just kind of like let me run with a lot of these things, and we just keep going, and I'd say something weird. I'd be like, they don't want to use that. And they'd be like, actually, elaborate on that one a little more. Like, keep going on that tangent. Yeah. And then, get something super weird.
Yeah. How did it end up at Netflix? Like, was like Netflix like the only place you guys took it to, or like how did that
I wasn't a part of that
that
process, but from my understanding, Tony and Dan first sold it to CBS.
Are they like the showrunners or the writers or?
They're the creators.
Okay.
Tony was the director.
Okay.
But they brought it to CBS, and I think CBS was instantly down. And then
they wanted it, or they were not?
No, they wanted it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were like, we
That's
loved
so
it.
Interesting. I feel like
and I think they originally wanted to do it as like a shorter thing, like a 10-minute, go 90 kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And then they brought it. I think after that, I want to say Funny or Die. I'm not 100% sure. And then once they had that package, they brought it to Netflix. I think they realized while they were doing this, they're like, wait, we have something really good here. And they brought it to Netflix, and, Netflix was on board, which was
Well, I feel like
awesome.
it's smart because, there's cursing, and there's just so much that wouldn't have necessarily worked on, like, a network show or something.
Right, yeah,
like
there's
that.
so many, like, we would do these takes with the Wayback Boys, and, cussing is just, part of their language. But we'd be shooting, and we'd realize, like, okay, there's a lot of F words in this. Like, there's like 30 in this one scene.
And teenagers cuss, and high schoolers cuss, so that's kind of why I liked 13 Reasons Why. I don't know if you watched that, but that's on another Netflix show. And it was a very authentic portrayal of high schoolers, because I feel like a lot of times with high schoolers, they're not cussing, or they're not partaking in like those kind of things, but with American Vandal, like the partying and the drinking and all that kind of stuff. That's what high schoolers do.
The language was and I think a lot of that had to do with the way it was shot and like the looseness of, they would do these things with the cameramen where they like wouldn't tell them the blocking, and like it just gave it that a lot more of an authentic feel. And when we're actually having a conversation, they're just kind of like letting us talk.
Yeah.
And the other members of the Wayback Boys were so good, and just so real. It just brought a lot of that. I keep using the word authenticity, but
it's true, yeah. And especially like the SoCal vibe of it. Like you could just tell that they were all very Oceanside, very,
Yeah.
You guys definitely played that to a T. So I know you probably can't answer this, but it was left sort of open-ended. What do you think season 2? Like if there was going to be a season 2, what do you think it should follow the same?
Well,
dynamic?
I know things that I can't really discuss, but I do know that season 2, if it were to happen, would be a new
Vandal.
A new thing. Like
Yeah,
it wouldn't
yeah.
be the same. We wouldn't still be dwelling on.
Well, that's
Hoochie and
fun.
the Dicks.
I would be super down for a second season. I feel like I'm gonna have to. I watched it so quickly. I feel like I need to like go back and watch it again, just because, like you said, like I feel like there's probably little things that I missed
And there's a lot of things that earlier on in the show you think might be irrelevant, like little details that you're like, why are they still talking about this? And then when you get later on in the show, they bring all these things up again, and you realize, oh yeah, that's why they were going so hard on this one little thing.
Yeah. Well, anything else? Like what else do you kind of have in the works right now? I know you have your YouTube channel, Life According to Jimmy, correct? So what else do you kind of have in the works right now that you can discuss? Because I know a lot of times YouTubers, it's like, I have so many exciting things that I can't talk about. What can you talk about?
I mean, I think I can talk about them. I'm pitching a couple shows right now, actually. And I have another series that I've been doing on my YouTube channel called Real Bros of Simi Valley, which is kind of a spoof of Real Housewives, except it's just these bros who do nothing with their lives. And yeah, we're writing season 2 of that right now, and then we're pitching 2 other shows, and there's a movie in the works as well.
You sound like a busy person.
So a lot of things going on. I don't want to jinx.
Right.
But yeah, a lot of good wheels are in motion right now. So
That's
I'm
awesome.
really excited.
I do have one question that I wanted to shoot your way. So I know you've been with YouTube for a while. I feel like when did you launch your channel? Like,
I started it I technically started it in high school in like 2010, just to upload some of my old NDTV videos from high school. But then I really started making moves early 2011, and then like late 2011 is when I got on like a once a week video schedule and really started,
What do you sort of think of like the YouTube landscape today? Because I feel like there's.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
What?
I was gonna say, I feel like there's a weird sense of everybody just wants to do things for clicks. Like no one is really.
It's kind of one of the reasons I've
veered
distanced myself from YouTube lately, is just because I don't really like what it has become in the last few years. I feel like it's very just clickbaity and, put a crazy picture in the thumbnail, and very quantity over quality as a platform overall, which is just not something I agree with at all. And it's always been a consistency thing. It's always been, you got to upload every Monday, or you got to upload every day. And right now, what's hot on YouTube is daily videos, putting out a video every day, which I have absolutely no desire to do. I respect how much work goes into daily vlogging.
It's not easy. I
don't get how they do that. Like, they film their life every day, and they edit it and upload it every day, which is, that's insane. And they make a lot of money, and they should, because it's a lot of work. But I have no desire to do that, or I have no desire to put that much of my life on display for people to see. It's just very different from what I've been doing on YouTube for, since 2011, which is, comedy sketches. And, I've done certain things that are closer to that. But yeah, I just don't feel like YouTube is really the place for what I'm trying to do, which is kind of an internal debate I've been having for a while now. But I'm not going to stop making YouTube videos.
Because it's a fun platform, and it's stuff that you can do on your own. And obviously sounds like you are comfortable making your own material, and you don't really need to rely on other people or, writers or whatever. So why not, if you feel like putting something out there and you don't know where else to put it, like, why not just put it on YouTube?
Yeah. I think what I will say about YouTube is it's really helped shape my go get it attitude just towards making things. Because I've just for so long been able to, write something and then do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of my frustration with other projects comes from, the fact that I've been doing that for so long, and now there's all these obstacles. I got to wait on 2 execs to make a phone call for a month, and it's all these things that are out of my control that I didn't have to deal with before.
Right.
But I think I actually figured out what I need to be doing on YouTube, which is I'm just going to be doing seasons, so I can, not say, all right, I'm going to try to do a video every Monday. I can say, for this amount of time, I'm going to do a video every Monday. And then after that, I'm going to go on another little hiatus where I work on other things.
Yeah. Well, all good stuff. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks
so
for
where
having me.
people check out American Vandal on Netflix, all 8 episodes available right now. I love that they're only 30 minutes, so you can watch them super, super quick.
Yeah.
And where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube, Life According to Jimmy, Twitter, Jimmy Tatro, Instagram, Jimprov.
Well, there you go. Go find him.
That's all I got.
And make sure, watch American Vandal, hilarious. And make sure you follow us. We're at instant.me, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Again, this was great. Thank you.
Thanks for
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.